Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to YAHAWAH, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakah HaKodash, and double honors to the apostles and bishops of Great Millstone who teach and rule well, and salutations to the beloved prophets and brothers continue to exhort the sheep in these last days, and a mighty shalom to the hopeful elect listening in, and to the 12 tribes scattered abroad. Shalom, shalom. The title of this epistle is entitled Servant of YAHAWAH. You are a servant of YAHAWAH, no more a bond servant or a slave to sin and unto men, but you are freed because you have believed in the blood of Hamashiach Yahweh Shai, who is able to set you free. And if you believe, you are indeed freed from your sin, first spiritually, and then the physical escape will come to full fruition, like the prophecy has proclaimed. You are a servant of YAHAWAH. You are called out of the world to serve YAHAWAH with Yahweh Shai. You are a free man, no longer in bondage to your sin and iniquity, and are waiting for that hopeful redemption to be brought into the land of your inheritance. So, with that being said, let's go into Romans chapter 6, and we'll jump right in at verse 7 and pick it up from there. It reads, "For he that is dead is freed from sin." You are dead to your carnal flesh because you are commanded to mortify the flesh and to persevere in the spirit, putting off the lusts of the flesh. Now you are dead from sin because you have understood what obedience is. What you understood, what the word is telling you to do, is to bridle your flesh, to arrest the flesh and the deeds of the flesh, because the deeds of the flesh ultimately bring about death. So you are freed from sin because you are dead to sin. Now, if we be dead with Hamashiach, because the Messiah is the chief cornerstone, our prime example, our chief priest on how to operate within the spiritual aspect while we are in the flesh, but we no longer are bondage and servants of the flesh to fulfill the lust of the flesh, which ultimately bring about sin. But we harness those things, and we harness them by the obedience and subjection unto the word that is able to wash you and make you clean from iniquity and sin. Verse 8 again in Romans chapter 6, it reads, "Now if we be dead with Hamashiach, we believe that we shall also live with him." This pertains to those that believe on the report, believe on the prophecy, believe in the prophets, in the apostles, in the bishops. They believe in the word. They believe on the blood that was shed for the atonement for the 12 tribes of Israel to be grafted back into the covenant to receive those inheritance which are proclaimed throughout the scriptures, in particularly Deuteronomy chapter 28. Jumping back in Romans chapter 6 and verse 9, knowing that Hamashiach being raised from the dead dieth no more. Death have no more dominion over him. Why? Because sin brings about death in all aspects, in all areas of your mortal life. Death brings about sin, and sin brings about death. Death have no more dominion over you. Now you are guarded with wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of the scriptures to walk upright and in righteousness. So no longer are you tainted by the affairs of this carnal world. You no longer are subjected under the flesh, but you are operating within the Ruach HaKodash. Verse 10, "For in that he died unto sin once, but in that he liveth unto the Most High." Now our lives are directed unto our power, and this is how we live. We live in obedience unto his ordinances and commands to be redeemed from death into life. Verse 11, "Likewise reckon ye also yourselves to be dead indeed unto sin, but alive unto YAHAWAH through Hamashiach Yahweh Shai." He is that redemption, that blood atonement, the intercessors, our mediator, who was an advocate unto YAHAWAH Yahweh Shai, and our predestined lot to fulfill in order to be made clean and have our iniquities purged off, and to put off the mortal and put on the immortal. Let not sin therefore reign in your mortal body, that ye should obey it in the lust thereof. This brings about death. Verse 13, neither yield ye members as an instrument of righteousness unto sin, but yield yourselves unto the Most High Yahawah, Yahawah. Why? Because you are a servant of Yahawah. You are no longer a servant of sin. You are no longer a servant of mammon. You are no longer a servant to Esau, Edom, but you are redeemed. You are a precious possession that has been predestined to be delivered unto Yahawah, Yahawah, and you will endure unto the end to be redeemed into those inheritance promises. Verse 13 again. Neither yield ye your members as instruments of unrighteousness. Don't use your liberty to commit trespasses and sin, but practice them out with this mercy window to continue to purge off iniquities and sin, and to bridle your flesh to remain within the spirit. But yield yourselves unto the Most High Yahawah, Yahawah, as those that are alive from the dead, and your members as instruments of righteousness unto the Most High. There are others who have been woken up unto this marvelous light and have been given that Ruach HaKodesh that resurrected them from a spiritual dead state and will ultimately be redeemed. Verse 14, for sin shall not have dominion over you, for ye are not under the law, but under grace. Now that you have the observances of the commandments, you now have a reference guide to now walk straight and be given grace to abound, and the opportunity and the gift of repentance upon slipping. There's sometimes you may slip, but this is not a practice. We practice to continue to observe the commandments and being upright. Verse 15, what then? Shall we sin because we are not under the law, but under grace? Yahawah forbid. We are still observing the commandments because the judgments are still applicable. When you commit a trespass and iniquity and sin, you no longer are covered under grace, but now you are covered underneath of the curses and judgments that must regain that unjust balance. Verse 16, know ye not that to whom you yield yourselves servants to obey, his servants ye are to whom ye obey. Whoever you are delivering yourselves over unto as a servant, that is who your master is. Whether of sin unto death, or of obedience unto righteousness. Now, you are subject to which one you would like to observe. This is not of free will. Those who have been predestined and called into this, they were always going to pursue this lot. They were always going to be called and persevere into this lot. We don't know what lot we are to partake in, but we are practicing them out with that faith and hope that once we are observing this and continuing to be that obedient servant, we are covered under grace. Verse 17, but Yahawah be thanked that ye were servants of sin. You were servants of sin. You were fornicators. You were drunkards. You were idolaters. You were all these things in Esau, Edom's kingdom. You were these things, but we are now putting off that mortal flesh and the desires of our flesh to now walk upright in righteousness under the obedience and guidance of Yahawah, wa Yahawah. Verse 17 again, but Yahawah be thanked. You always praise him and thank him. But Yahawah be thanked that ye were the servants of sin, but ye have obeyed from the heart. You have obeyed from the heart that form of doctrine which you were delivered. This is a particular doctrine which you are to receive to resurrect you from that spiritual death, to be pardoned, hopefully to be redeemed. Verse 18, but then made free from sin, ye became the servants of righteousness. When you are now serving and performing and doing the works thereof, you are now a servant of the Most High Yahawah, Yahawah in righteousness and serving the sincere sheep, those who have the ears to hear and the eyes to see. Barakatah Yahawah, Barakatah Yahawah. Let's go to St. John, chapter 8. Servant of Yahawah. Servant of Yahawah, no more a bond servant of the world, no more a bond servant of sin, and no more a bond servant to man and mammon. Let's go to St. John chapter 8 and start at verse 34. verse 34. St. John chapter 6. Sorry, St. John chapter 8 and verse 34. Gotta find it. Here it is. Thank you. John chapter 8 and verse 34. It says, YAHAWAH answered them, Verily, verily, I say unto you, whosoever committeth sin is the servant of sin. When you commit trespasses and iniquity and continue to walk therein, you are now a servant to sin. You are in bondage to those iniquities, and you are become a subservient to the heathens. You are now under the curses of judgments. This is the equation. But when you do not commit sin and you walk upright and you are carrying the law, statutes, commands, and you are being built up in the faith, you are now in a sanctification process of being purged of your iniquities entirely to be made clean like a virgin bride waiting to be redeemed by her husbandman. YAHAWAH answered them, Verily, verily, I say unto you, whosoever committeth sin is the servant of sin, and the servant abideth not in the house forever, but the Son abideth forever. The Son are the only ones who are going to continue to persevere, walk upright, and abide in the house of Yahweh, or YAHAWAH. And those who do not, you do not abide within the house. Verse 36, If the Son therefore shall make you free, ye shall be free indeed. You continue to be taught by Yahweh, YAHAWAH, and be made clean. You are made free. You are no longer a servant of the world, no longer a servant to sin, no longer a bondservant to the heathens, but are now become a servant of Yahweh, YAHAWAH. We are still operating within the confines of this world, but our spirit, our mind, our lob, our posture is towards Yahweh, YAHAWAH. Right? There's a big distinct difference. Let's go to 1 Peter. 1 Peter chapter 2. 1 Peter chapter 2 and verse 9. Yeah, let's do that one. 1 Peter chapter 2 and verse 9. Who the Son sets free is free indeed. But ye are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a peculiar people, that ye should show forth the praises. You should show forth these praises. Now understanding who you are as a nation people, who now understanding who your marvelous power is, who the Son of the Most High Yahweh, YAHAWAH is, that shed that blood for the atonement for the iniquities of the children of Israel. You should give him the praises and the honors and always give thanks. We read these things already, right? 1 Peter chapter 2 and mid-verse chapter 9, that ye should show forth the praises of him who hath called you out of darkness into his marvelous light. Because we just read in John chapter 8 that whoever the Son sets free is free indeed. You can only be taken out of darkness, brought into the marvelous light, no longer under bondage and serve sin, but now are a servant of righteousness. We read that in Romans chapter 6 and verse 18, right? You now serve Yahweh or YAHAWAH wholeheartedly, laboring, exhorting while it's still called this day, edifying one another each and every day. This is what he says: if you love me, feed my sheep. He didn't say, if you love me, go about caring about the things that are going on in this world. He said, serve me, because I have the power and authority to set you free. You are now a free man. You are now no longer subject to sin or the judgments of sin, but now you are being hopefully redeemed through this word, right? Let's go to 2 Peter. 2 Peter chapter 2. Pick it up at verse 18. 2 Peter chapter 2, pick it up at verse 18. And we'll read all the way to 22. It reads, For when they speak great swelling words, these are those that continue to walk in darkness, those that are trying to pull you back into the things of this world. You go on to read chapter 2 Peter chapter 2. It talks about those natural brute beasts that still love to live in sin, having a desire and insatiable souls to continue to be corrupted, right? And we pick it up at verse 18. It says, for when they speak great swelling words of vanity, they allure through the lusts of the flesh. They try to entice you with the things of this world, to captivate you, to separate you from what's most important, is that's keeping your eyes single on prophecy and the word and doing the things that please the Father. These have great swelling words of vanity. They allure through the lusts of their flesh, through much wantonness, those that were clean. You were clean